you probably think the size limit for a land mammal is represented by the modern elephant, a body weighing 6 or 7 tons, shoulders rising around 4 meters above the ground. Standing beside almost any other land animal, an elephant looks like a moving wall. But elephants may not have reached the true upper limit of mammalian size, because more than 20 million years ago, Asia was home to an animal that pushed the land mammal body plan toward an almost unbelievable extreme. Its shoulders may have risen close to 5 meters above the ground. With its head lifted, it may have reached vegetation near the height of a 2-story building. Its body was more than 7 meters long. Weight estimates vary widely because complete skeletons are extremely rare, but some of the largest individuals may have weighed well over 10 tons. It was the equivalent of placing several African elephants inside one enormous body. It had no dinosaur tail, no mammoth tusks, and despite being a distant relative of rhinoceroses, it did not even possess the feature that makes modern rhinos instantly recognizable. It had no horn, yet it may have been one of the largest mammals ever to walk on solid ground. Paraceratherium, the giant hornless rhinoceros, but do not imagine it as a modern rhinoceros, simply enlarged and stripped of its horn. Modern rhinos have low, heavy bodies, supported by short, powerful legs. They resemble armored vehicles, moving close to the ground. Paraceratherium was built differently. Its legs were much longer, its body was carried high above the ground. Its neck was also elongated. From a distance, it looked as though someone had taken apart a rhinoceros, an elephant, and a giraffe, then reassembled the pieces into one gigantic animal. And the strangest part was that this enormous creature had no massive horn for fighting, because Paraceratherium may not have needed a specialized weapon. On its head, its greatest weapon was the rest of its body. Imagine Central Asia, around 26 million years ago. Open woodland stretches across the landscape. Smaller hoofed mammals move between low trees and scattered shrubs. Then the ground begins to vibrate with a slow, regular rhythm. Distant branches shake. A shadow taller than almost any other land mammal gradually appears between the trees. It does not need to run. It does not need to roar. Every time it takes a step, its enormous feet press the weight of its body deep into the soft ground. Its belly may hang above the heads of many nearby animals. If an adult Paraceratherium walked past you, you might not immediately see one complete animal. You might see a vast grey-brown wall of flesh for long legs rising like structural columns, and an enormous neck reaching toward the tree canopy. Paraceratherium was a plant eater, and a body this large required huge quantities of leaves, shoots, and other vegetation every day. But it did not need to lower its head and compete with smaller herbivores for food near the ground. Its long legs and elevated neck allowed it to feed in places other animals could barely reach. It may have lifted its head and used flexible lips to pull leaves from high branches. To a small herbivore, one large shrub could provide an entire feeding area. To Paraceratherium, the same plant might offer only a few mouthfuls, so the giant had to keep moving, traveling from one patch of woodland to another in search of enough vegetation to support its enormous body. This is the truth about gigantism that is easiest to overlook. The larger you become, the fewer predators can threaten you, but the amount of food you owe your body each day becomes a bill that can never be paused. A healthy adult Paraceratherium probably had little reason to fear most predators. Even if a large carnivorous mammal managed to get close, it would face an animal several times heavier than itself. Biting through the skin would not be the same as bringing down the giant. If Paraceratherium turned, lifted a foreleg, or drove its body forward, the predator would no longer face a slow and harmless herbivore. It would face more than 10 tons of mass, changing direction. It had no horn, but it could use its body to knock an attacker aside. It had no long tusks, but its weight alone could crush anything trapped beneath it. For most predators, attacking a healthy adult may have been like trying to bite down a moving building, but young Paraceratherium would not have enjoyed the same protection. A juvenile was smaller, less experienced, and easier to isolate. Large predators may have followed groups of these giants, waiting for a young animal to fall behind, or targeting individuals that were injured or weakened. Adults may therefore have needed to place their own bodies between danger and the young. For a juvenile, the safest place was not somewhere it could outrun a predator. It was between the enormous pillar-like legs of an adult. But the greatest limit on Paraceratherium was never simply whether it could defeat a predator. The real question was whether a mammalian body could continue supporting so much weight. Dinosaurs pushed land animal size into the range of many tens of tons, but they possessed a different anatomical system. Paraceratherium was a mammal. It had to maintain a relatively high and stable body temperature. It had to breathe continuously with lungs. Its heart had to send blood toward a head held several meters above the ground, and every joint, bone, and foot had to absorb the force created by every step. When a body gains another ton, the structural problem does not increase by only a small amount. The leg bones must become stronger. The joints must remain stable. The feet must spread the animal's weight across a wider area. Even turning, standing up, and falling down become high-risk movements. For a small animal, a fall may mean rolling over and standing again. For a mammal weighing more than 10 tons, a serious fall could cause broken bones, damaged joints, or an inability to rise again. A larger body also creates a temperature problem. In cold conditions, gigantic size helps retain heat, but in warmer conditions, the animal must find a way to release all the heat generated inside that enormous body. It cannot hide inside a small burrow. It cannot easily move through every patch of dense forest. It depends on shade, water, and open pathways wide enough for its body to pass. So Paraceratherium was not an invincible monster. It was a mammalian engineering project, pushed close to its structural limit. As long as food remained abundant, water remained dependable, and suitable woodland stayed connected, its enormous body was its greatest defense. But when the environment changed, those advantages could reverse. At the same time, the Oligocene landscapes of Asia were not permanent. Climate, rainfall, and vegetation continued to change. Some regions became drier. The distribution of forests and open woodlands was reorganized. Continuous feeding areas may have become smaller, more distant, and more fragmented. For a small mammal, the loss of one woodland patch might be survivable. It can eat less, it can switch foods, it can hide inside a smaller habitat. Paraceratherium could not. A body weighing more than 10 tons does not automatically shrink when the leaves disappear. A high-reaching neck does not suddenly become a specialized grass-feeding tool. When the woodland retreats, the giant still needs vast quantities of vegetation and water every single day. If the next feeding area moves farther away, the animal must spend more energy traveling toward a smaller supply of food. New large herbivores were also spreading through different parts of Asia. Some researchers have proposed that the later expansion of proboscideans, the relatives of elephants, may have altered vegetation and increased competition for resources, but there is no evidence that the disappearance of Paraceratherium can be blamed entirely on one newly arrived rival. Its extinction was more likely linked to several forces acting together: climate change, vegetation shifts, changes in the distribution of food and water, ecological competition, and the slow reproductive pace typical of very large mammals. Exactly why Paraceratherium disappeared remains uncertain. No single explanation accounts for all the available evidence, but one thing is clear: it did not fail because its body was not large enough. The opposite may be true. It may have pushed the giant herbivore strategy into a range that was extraordinarily expensive to maintain. The higher it stood, the more trees it needed, the heavier it became, the more food and water it required, the safer each adult was from predators, the harder it may have been for the population to replace lost individuals quickly. Its body allowed it to escape the threat of most carnivores, but it could not escape the bill delivered by the environment. That is the greatest irony of Paraceratherium. It had no sharp horn, no carnivore's teeth, no dinosaur tail, capable of sweeping an enemy away, yet with nothing more than a mammalian body, it became a breathing, walking tower. It pushed the rhinoceros lineage toward the upper limits of what a land mammal could become, but reaching the ceiling does not make an animal safe, because the larger you become, the more you depend on a stable and productive world to support you from below. When forests retreat, water sources move, and the food map is redrawn. The first animal to fall is not always the weakest. Sometimes it is the giant that requires an entire ecosystem to keep paying its daily survival costs. Paraceratherium shows us that size can free an animal from almost every predator, but size cannot command the climate. It cannot force a vanished forest to grow again, and it cannot make a depleted landscape produce enough food for a body weighing more than 10 tons. Earth once turned a hornless relative of rhinoceroses into one of the great